Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the Breslov Parshat series. The next Parsha we're talking about is Beha'alotekha. We did Nosoi after Shavuos. Now we're doing Beha'alotekha. Right now in Eretz Yisrael, we're a week ahead of the people in Chutz La'aretz. We'll catch up by Chukas Bolog. But in the meantime, we're holding by Beha'alotekha. It's one of those parshas that moves from item to item to item to item to item. Starts off with Aharon setting up the menorah in the temple. Rashi says that Aaron felt very bad. 12 tribes, and each one brought a sacrifice in the temple, in the Mishkan, the sanctuary. Aaron was looking, he's the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. He's not bringing anything. Moshe Rabbeinu told him, Beha'alotekha es haneros, when you light the candles, when you go up to the candles, right? He explained to him that lighting the menorah is greater than all the sacrifices brought by the presidents of the tribes in the previous parsha. All right. We spoke then last week about how each parsha was kind of carved out individually for each tribe, separate. What is so special about the menorah? Here's a very interesting thing. We may have said it before. The menorah had 7 lamps. So Aaron, when he would light the menorah, he would light 7 different lamps, right? The Zohar, in Tikkun Zohar in the Hakdama, explains that the Mishkan, the sanctuary, actually paralleled the human body, so that the lungs were like the kaporos, the covering of the Oren. The Oren was the heart. So just like the lungs covered the heart in order to make sure that it's regulated and they flutter, the lungs have 5 parts that flutter. So, forgot what they're called, but they flutter, they cool off the heart. The heart is beating very hard, very hot. It would burn the body. The lungs cool it off. The fresh air that's drawn in, the lungs, it cools it off. The stomach is like the shulchan, the table. The shewbread was brought on it. The head is the candelabrum. Candelabrum had 7 lamps. We have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth. 7. The head is the menorah. The head is what lights us up, lets us see in the light, in the dark. It lets us see things that could become clear. It lets us see what we're supposed to be doing in life. It lets us hear what's going on around us. It lets us smell. Smell? Well, we can smell a nice smell, or there's a malodorous smell. 2 nostrils, 1 good, 1 bad. Your eyes can see good, your eyes can see bad. Your ears can hear it. The mouth, only one. Shimon ben Yochai, Yerushalmi in Shabbos, he asks, why shouldn't a person have two mouths so that they could speak double the amount of Torah, just like the eyes and the ears and so on? And then he said, when I think about it, it's better he has only one. Maybe it will save him from all the evil speech that he does. Slander, profanity, mockery, falsehood, flattery. There's an untold amount of evil that can come out of a person's mouth. It's enough he has one, halavai, he should watch that one mouth. That's from Shimon ben Yochai. So that's the beginning, the opening part of Parshat Beha'alotekha. And then it goes on to a point where it speaks about the Leviim, those from the tribe of Levi, that have to go through a purification process in order to be able to serve in the temple, the sanctuary. And then there's a part about Moshe Rabbeinu having chatzotzros, horns that will call the people. Give one kind of blast, these people come. Two kinds of blast, presidents come. Different kind of blast, the tribes begin to travel. So on. All the hints about what we're supposed to be doing in life. And then there's a story of the clouds of glory that stand over the Jewish nation. There were 7 clouds, 6 clouds surrounding them, east, west, north, south, one on top and one underneath. It's like an escalator or a moving platform where the clouds would carry them. I carried you on the wings of eagles. These were really the clouds of glory that the Jews didn't really have to walk through the desert. They were carried through the desert. There's one more cloud that used to go before the people in the desert. It would precede them. If they were traveling, the cloud of glory would travel before them, showing them which way to go. You didn't need Waze or a Garmin. You didn't need this kind of stuff. Hertz, what do they call it? The whereabouts, whatever. Right? They had the cloud of glory showed them. Then it talks about the misoinim. Talks about people who complained in the desert about the man. So they were given very fat geese or a type of very fat bird that would satiate their desires for meat. And the final part of the parsha speaks about Miriam and Aaron that had a complaint against Moshe Rabbeinu, and they turned into lepers for a short period of time because of Lashon Hara. Right? They spoke slander. So this is the parsha in short. One of the things that we didn't mention, it's when they have the part of sanctifying the Levites, right after that you have the portion of Pesach Sheni. Very interesting law. It's almost the only law in Torah where you're supposed to bring the Paschal lamb on the 14th day of Nisan. What happens if you were impure and you couldn't bring it? What happens if you were too distant from Yerushalayim, you couldn't make it in time? Maybe you even tried, but you couldn't make it. So the Torah tells us a story. There were some people that were impure for the first sacrifice of Pesach, for the Paschal lamb. So they came to Moshe Rabbeinu. We're impure. What could I do? I'm impure. I want to bring the sacrifice. I can't. Is there any hope for me? And this Reb Nosson explains, goes on every single person. I did something wrong. I did an Avera. Or I did something that was wrong, even if it's not an Avera. But I did something wrong. I'm impure. Is there any hope for me? And the Torah tells us yes. Pesach, which is the beginning of the Jewish nation, make a new beginning. You can't do it on this time, do it next month, 14th day of year, right? You can do it then. In other words, even if you're impure, do not hold back from trying to serve God. What did these people say? Loma nigora, why should we be lacking the mitzvah of Pesach? And Hashem said, okay, here's the mitzvah of Pesach Sheni. Here you have that extra Yom Tov. So that's the lesson that Reb Nosson learns from there. You have to keep at it. Strengthen yourself. Cry out to Hashem. Why should I be left like I am? Why can't I improve myself? Why can't I better myself? You do it that way, you'll see that you'll get to where you have to go. All right? One of the ways, Reb Nosson explains, is through the horns that Moshe Rabbeinu had made for him. There were different sounds that came out from the shofar. Some were a tekiah, some were a trua, some were a tekiah and a trua. They all meant different things, right? Reb Nosson says this refers to all the hints that we receive during our day. A lot of times something happens and it reminds me of a mitzvah. It reminds me of Hashem in a certain way. That's great. Take advantage. That's what Reb Nosson says. This kind of idea, that kind of idea, different things come before you. Think of Hashem. Connect it all to Hashem. Somehow, somewhere, Hashem, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? If you do it that way, then you'll be able to do it right. May Hashem help that we don't complain like the Misonanim. We feel we have gifts from heaven, the manna coming down. We don't have to have that extra fat piece of meat. We don't have to have that extra strawberry shortcake. No, we have to be able to say thank you, Hashem, for the manna that I do have, and every day I get manna. You do that, then you're going to be taking care of the rest of your life. May Hashem help us that we know that, and we realize that, and we make sure that tzaddik stays in our life, and we don't slander the tzaddik, and we'll be okay. Let's all have a great Shabbos. Amen.